So today we're here with Steak and Butter Gal, who is living in New York City and does a carnivore diet, and really excited to talk to her. She's got lots of insight that I'm sure us UK people might not have. So let's get into it.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's great to have you, and as I said, really excited to chat tonight. So I mean, like, let's just jump into your kind of change from maybe a more standard diet into carnivore. I mean, like, how did it kind of come about?
Yeah, so growing up, I was raised on a standard American diet as well as a standard Chinese diet, just a cuisine very much focused on white rice, because that's a huge part of Chinese cuisine. And on the side, I would have vegetable dishes, very meat centered as well, lots of eggs. And I decided to go vegan because senior year of high school, I started being very obsessed and I guess desperate about being thin and losing more weight. I was really wanting to look better on stage because I am a musician and I perform all of the time. And it was just this whole pressure of staying fit. And so I YouTubed and Googled just how to lose weight quick, And the first thing that showed up was Frilly the Banana Girl. And at that time, she was a sensation. She was very, very popular. And the things that she was advocating were really catching on quick. And a bunch of girls were really just praising her, following her. She promoted this raw till 4 way of eating where you eat fruits, salads, just raw plant foods until 4 p.m. And when 4 p.m. hits, you start eating cooked starches like rice, potatoes, sweet potatoes. So that's kind of the routine that I followed. And I did see immediate weight loss. So immediately I felt like this diet works for me. I'm finally losing weight. And I stuck with it for 6 years. Now, during those vegan years, I felt good, but I do feel like these different diets just sometimes don't work for everyone. You really have to give it a try and you really have to do your research. For me, it just didn't work with my lifestyle just because I'm a musician. It requires a lot of brain energy and mental focus. I'm sitting at the piano hours on end per day. And I just felt like it didn't support my lifestyle. So by the end of year 6, I decided to start eating meat again. And I again started to obsessively research and prepare for just eating meat because, I'm just extreme like that. But I also heard amazing success stories and podcasts, Joe Rogan with all these big carnivores. So I wanted to give the carnivore diet a try. And that's how I started. And now, 22 months later, I'm still carnivore. And keto, very much keto carnivore, but completely animal meat based.
Wow, that's amazing. So your switch from vegan to carnivore, was it sort of, you say you researched it, was it something that you kind of gradually did, or was it something that you just thought, I'm just gonna switch and I'm just gonna do this?
Yeah, it was a very immediate overnight switch. I'm just not really somebody who does gradual or moderation or transitions. It's just like I do it or I just don't do it at all. So I was very committed to just strict 100% in carnivore just to see what would happen. And I pushed through the adaptation phase, and I must say, it really changed my life.
Wow, that's amazing. So when you made the switch, like how did you feel like having that do you remember like the first meal you had when you
Oh, yes. Yes. I remember the dreams I had before eating my first meal, and that was eggs. I was dreaming about having eggs, and I think it's because I ate a lot of my mom's egg dishes. So I would dream about eggs. So that was the first thing that I cooked and put in my mouth. So it was just scrambled eggs with some butter. I think it was Kerrygold butter with Vital Farms eggs, and the first bite, I just knew it was so right.
that's it, you couldn't go back?
Yeah.
Think freely, that kind of like raw till 4. Also, I know you said about like the brain energy, but also the amount of like fruit that you actually
Yeah.
had to consume. Like, I remember because coming from like more like disordered eating, you would look up all of these different diets and obviously try them all, but when you've got this amount of fruit that you're just having to like chug down, that much sugar as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Traumatic.
Yeah, she also started this raw fruitarian way of eating, and I actually gave it a try. There was a period of time where I was eating 40 bananas a day. And yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
And surprisingly, a lot of the people in the carnivore community, they reach out to me and tell me, hey, I was just like you. I also was persuaded by Freely, and I also ate 40 bananas a day. So it just goes to show just how influential somebody like her can be, anyone on YouTube. So it's dangerous, but also it's very inspiring, because I feel like I could share my story and hopefully inspire young ladies like me to just, stay open-minded.
Definitely, absolutely. So, what would you say is like the main benefit, like switching to carnivore? Like, I mean, how comes you prefer it over being vegan for 6 years? Like, is there like a main thing that's kind of come to you and you think like, yeah, this really is for me? Like, what was kind of like that for you?
Yeah, so when I was vegan, at first, again, I was feeling really good. And so this is why I really respect everybody's dietary choices. I'm just sharing my story from vegan to carnivore. And I do believe that the benefits that I have received eating carnivore really outweigh those from the vegan diet. So, firstly, I battle with eczema and psoriasis. The psoriasis used to really flare up around my temples, and my eczema would always, ever since I can remember, they would just concentrate around both arms here. And when I was vegan, it just never really got better. The inflammation was constant. And I remember nights where I'm scratching until I bleed. And when in the morning I'm waking up and there's just blood on the sheets. So during the day, it would be stinging like crazy. So I think people with autoimmune issues need to be careful about the food that they're eating, because inflammatory foods really will not help your eczema if you do battle with it. Something else is my face, my acne. Had a lot of acne when I was vegan, and I was eating a whole foods plant-based vegan diet. So maybe it was just my body. It didn't agree with all those plants, fruits, carbs. But upon switching to the carnivore diet, I don't have any breakouts anymore. I still am healing from the acne scars from the vegan diet. But it just goes to show that meat, animal fats can be very, very beneficial to the skin.
Definitely. I think that's something that us girls here on the podcast, we always try and say is that I think when you switch to a keto diet, all of a sudden you're allowed to have these fats that we've always been told are bad for you. And it's kind of readjusting your brain to realizing that actually fats can be really good and healthy for you, for your insides and your skin. Like my skin is done it's just come on such
That's
a long way.
amazing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like my skin has just, I mean, I really struggled with like oily skin, acne, all of that. And I had a little bit of eczema. It wasn't really bad, but
Mm-hmm.
all of that cleared up. Like within month by month, every month that went by that I was doing keto for, my skin just cleared up crazily.
That's amazing. So I'm so curious, like when you eat keto meals, what do you like to center your meals around?
Yeah, so it kind of like varies for me. So I've never really done carnivore, but I'm really interested to try it.
Mm-hmm.
So most of my meals are kind of like the typical keto meal where it's like I will have a steak. I treat myself to a steak. I don't have steak that often. But I mainly have things like fish, like salmon, then some greens. So like either like a salad or like green beans, with like a little bit of butter on top. But I'm not so fat focused.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of just keep my carbs low, keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of like in the morning, say I have like the classic bacon and eggs, or I'll cook myself like a chai pudding, like an overnight chai pudding,
Mm-hmm.
salad for lunch, and then I always just have some sort of like meat and or fish with like green beans, broccoli, just kind of like keto meals really.
Yeah,
I
that's
feel
awesome.
like, yeah, like I'm kind of completely the opposite to you guys, because obviously I don't eat meat or dairy, and
Yeah.
that kind of works for my like, so I get like skin conditions as well, so I get like blocked follicles and that kind of
Mm.
thing, where hormonal imbalances really
Mm.
affected me. So dairy, definitely. I don't know if it's the casein in it or if it's something else, or just like the kind of hormones that really didn't agree with my body. And like I'll always advocate just for keto, like you do you. So obviously a lot of my kind of dishes are more whole foods, like fibrous and veggies and tofu and nuts and seeds, but obviously like animal based like fats do work, so it's kind of figuring out what works best for your body and to see, you know, how that affects you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just love how you guys on your podcast are so open-minded and openly discuss such different diets and embrace each other's diets. I think that is a wonderful approach to different diets. So kudos to you guys.
Oh, thank you. I think we
Yeah.
always try and have the mindset of like, absolutely everybody's different, aren't they? I mean, everyone's along with different diets. I mean, like personally, I tried to get my mum to do keto, but she wouldn't be able to do it because of like her certain medical conditions. Like, I feel like if you're doing keto and you're not enjoying it, then it's just not right for you, is it? It's not the right thing to be doing for you.
Right.
Yeah, we always try and take that approach where I think you do you in all aspects.
Yep, exactly. And if somebody's just not ready or committed, or their lifestyle just doesn't work well with like the keto diet or the vegan diet or the carnivore diet, then there's just no point in pushing it upon other people. So it's true that everybody is different, including their lifestyle and their career.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think one of the biggest things with keto is just trying to become maybe less food focused as well, because when you're lowering the sugar and the carbs, like you won't kind of feel that constant hunger that maybe you did before. So obviously I can go like long stretches of just working and not have to think about it. Whereas, you know, maybe another diet, like I'd have to keep kind of topping up almost.
Right. That's something that I noticed when I was vegan, eating so much carbs and the glucose. I would have spikes in energy and I would feel on top of the world. But then just an hour or so later, I would have a crash and I would just feel like doing nothing. Productivity is at zero. Whereas compared to keto carnivore, I have noticed that my energy and my mood has been very stable and constant throughout the day. And it's been really helpful in my studies, in my work, in my productivity overall. So there really is a difference in energy and mood when you eat more fat.
So I'm really interested. Sorry, I'm going to go slightly off topic. So you say you're a musician. So what do you do?
Oh, yeah. So I play piano right there, actually. Play piano and violin. And I've been studying it basically my whole life since I was 7 years old. And I decided to pursue it right before right before I finished high school. So I've been classically trained from the Mannes School of Music here in New York City. And I just graduated from the Juilliard School with a master's degree. So it's just a very classical music centered type of studies around piano and violin.
That's amazing. Like here in the UK, that's like what you see in movies. You hear Juilliard and you're like, oh my God, it's Juilliard.
It's a great school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in London, the Royal Academy of Music and the Royal College of Music are absolutely phenomenal schools. I really wanted to go this year to study at Royal Academy, but hopefully in the future.
Have you ever been to the UK or been to London?
Yes, I when I auditioned for both Royals, I was able to go there in person and play for the teachers, and I was able to stay for a couple days, and I fell in love with London. Just the class and the charm, the history, when you just stand within that city, it is absolutely so inspiring. I love that place.
I feel like because I've just kind of like lived here.
I literally just said this.
Yeah, that's what she told me.
Were gone.
That's it. I don't see. I mean, like London is special; it's the capital. But like,
yeah,
I don't know. I kind of just where I've like been brought up like with that lifestyle. I'm just kind of like I don't see it as that interesting. Is that bad?
Not at all. I mean, you were immersed in it for your whole life, so I guess, something new is always more inspirational. I bet when you come to New York City, you'd be like, "Wow, it's
Oh
amazing."
my God, I just can't wait. Like, I can't wait to experience the food out there as well, because everything just seems so different to here in the UK. Like,
Mhm.
just like simple thing. I feel like keto and carnivore just kind of seems easier in America, and that's why we're so behind here.
Absolutely, it is a lot easier. There's just so many more options and places to grocery shop, but also restaurants. But also for vegan, it was a vegan paradise here in New York City. They have so many options.
I
So
mean,
for
Whole Foods
any,
is, yeah.
yes, Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, all these grocery stores have everything.
Oh my God, I have to ask you, because this is like, I see it everywhere. Have you ever
Mhm.
had is it the Trader Joe's, and it's like a everything but the sesame?
Oh, everything but the bagel seasoning.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yeah. I know that's huge, especially on social media. Yeah,
Yeah.
everything but bagel. It's just like uh, I don't know if it's actually that special. I haven't personally tried it, but I know that the blend in that spice is like really amazing for just anything and everything. But honestly, Trader Joe's is legendary. They have the best prices with the best quality in foods and everything. So I do think Trader Joe's is one of the best things about America.
That's what we're missing out on over here. Like, our supermarkets are just like, it's just so, like, we don't
Yeah.
have anything interesting like that at all. Like,
I
prices
see.
are so expensive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everything that is shipped from America is like Reese's or Nerds or
Oh,
like Captain Crunch. Like, it's all
it's
just
the
like
worst.
packed with sugar. Yeah.
Mhm,
But
mhm. Yeah.
now I am very impressed that you've managed to fit a full-size piano in an apartment in Midtown. But
Yes, it's a baby grand, so it
oh, it is
fits
a bit
right in
okay.
that little corner. Yeah, it's a baby grand, but still, it's very hard to find tiny apartments in New York City with grand pianos, so I do feel very lucky to have one.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Right. Sorry, did you say something, Shannon?
Yeah, I was gonna say, so like, what would you say is like, what's kind of like your typical food diary day, like being carnivore, like how do you find that with, like, do you eat like 3 meals a day, or like what's your kind of like sort of go through in a day?
Yeah, so when I first started carnivore, I kind of was healing from a lot of things. Firstly, from amenorrhea, I didn't have a period, and also from a slight eating disorder, just because, I was so obsessed with losing weight that I kind of built some bad eating habits, restricting and just not staying nourished. So I promised myself when I first started the carnivore diet that I would just eat whenever I was hungry, and I would just eat until I was truly satiated. And that really required a lot of calories. I think I was eating at least 4 to 5,000 calories a day. But also, I'm a tall gal. I'm like 5'10". So eating that much food was, of course, scary, and gaining weight was scary. But I can tell you that I'm so glad I did that, because it really helped me heal my hormones and my metabolism. And I got my period back within a month. And I was just feeling so much better. The weight gain was just temporary. So the first 6 months, I wasn't doing any intermittent fasting. I was just eating whenever hungry. So that could have ranged from 3 to 4 to 5 meals a day with snacks. I was just eating all the time. And I think that was important, especially for someone like me. Um, and then fast forward 6 months, I started to feel so satiated, because I was just gorging on all the fats and the steaks and the ground beefs. So it just helped me carry through the day without feeling too hungry longer and longer and longer. And it helped me start organically doing 2 meals a day. And I see a lot of carnivores actually do the same. They start out eating whenever hungry, and then they naturally become so satiated that they just organically do 2 MAD to OMAD, 1 meal a day. So that's kind of where I am at. I eat so much in one sitting easily too. I'm not forcing myself really, and it just ties me over the next day. Same time, I'll sit down again and eat pretty much the same thing. So I'm doing a 1 meal a day type of style. And each meal I'll be eating eggs, butter, and beef. That's pretty much what I've been eating.
Wow. So do you kind of feel like your body is like in a really good routine and it knows like what
Yeah.
next, and you kind of feel, do you kind of feel like, I'm trying to find the right word. Sorry, my words
Mhm.
aren't with me today on this podcast. But like, do you feel
Okay.
um like you're not lacking anything? Do you feel like your like your energy levels, like would you say that they've improved?
Yeah, the energy, the mental clarity, just the overall positivity and happiness that I feel every single day, it just never fails me. The moment I wake up, I feel happy and ambitious and lucky and just grateful. And I do believe that it's because of the nutrient dense foods that I feed myself. The beef is just so packed with nutrients, and I really make sure I supplement enough fats. So it's just pure brain food, skin food, energy. Everything is just tip top shape. And on top of that, I really make sure I eat my organs for those last remaining minerals and electrolytes, vitamins that may be missing in the beef. So I make sure I'm on top of all of my nutrients, just everything. So I do feel like where I am at in life and the energy and everything, it's really the best I've ever felt. So I'm really happy with what I'm eating.
That's amazing.
So I
Like I
mean,
yeah,
sorry,
sorry.
I was just going to say, because you kind of like answered partially my next question, which was whether you had to supplement with your diet or if it
Mhm.
was literally just, you kind of just have to think about what eating organ meats and
Right.
that kind of thing, like on and off, you know.
Yeah, so I really do advocate eating organs on the carnivore diet, especially if you're trying to stick with it long term. I do believe that just eating beef and eggs, steaks, is good. It's better than most diets, like any standard American diet. If you just cut out the carbs, you're already doing like a huge favor for your health and your body. But if you really want to feel your absolute best and just thrive on this carnivorous way of eating, I think organs go a long way for long term success. So, my favorite organ, and I show this a lot on my YouTube channel, like what I eat in a day and why I eat what I eat. I love eating liver. Now, people will at first be like grossed out. I understand that it's disgusting, but really the nutrition in liver and the minerals, the vitamins, everything in liver just unbeatable. It's nature's superfood for a reason. Every time I eat it, the next day my skin is glowing. It is even and bright, and my energy is just even better. So I'm like addicted to eating this way, and I do think the liver goes a long way in making me feel that much better.
So the like the liver and the organs, would that be something that you'd eat like every day, or like do you cook them or do you
Right.
raw?
I personally eat it raw. Now, there is always risk in eating any animal foods, raw organs, fish, but I take the risk just because whenever I eat liver raw, I see much more benefits in my skin. I don't know, maybe it's because the nutrients are still alive, because when you do cook it, some of that does get killed. However, I think a light sear for liver is an excellent option. I just don't think cooking it thoroughly will be the same. Now, the amount I eat, I try to aim 1 ounce, which is like the size of my palm, about 1 ounce every other day.
Okay, that's sure. That's really interesting because like I've just never come across that before. Like maybe I've just not been clued up enough on carnivore. So would you
Mhm.
think that's something that like most people on a carnivore diet do, or is that just something that you discovered along the way?
So the whole organ thing, I always try to incorporate some organs ever since I started carnivore. Just, of course, I was just not used to the organs in the beginning, so it was very, very small amounts. But I must say that I was most influenced to add organs from a YouTuber called Frank Tufano. And I do have to shout him out every time I talk about me being carnivore, just because he was one of my biggest inspirations to start. But he really advocates organs, but for good reason, because I really do think there's some nutrients that you just can't get in meat and animal fats. Yeah, but the liver is something that I see more and more carnivores incorporate. However, there are also those carnivores who believe that just steaks, whatever you can afford, as long as it's just meat, you'll be fine. And I respect their opinion as well. I just feel so good with liver.
Yeah, that's it. Like, you've got to do what feels good for you. And I can see, like, obviously our listeners can't see, but you look glowing. Like,
Oh,
you
thank you.
radiate that. Like, you're on the other side of the world and you're already radiating that through a Zoom call. So, like, good for you.
Thank you, Shannon.
No, but you can see it even in your like feed as well, that, you know, your skin is just so clear, and, you know, you do look so incredibly healthy. So obviously, like, it works for you, and it obviously must work for other people. So
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Do you ever get any sort of, like, I mean, especially here in the UK, if someone says that they're carnivore or keto, you kind of get that look and they go, like, for me personally, I'll say, like, oh, I've lost, like, in America, so it's in pounds. I'll be like, oh, I've lost 125 pounds. And they'll be like, oh my God, wow, how did you do that? And I'll say, oh, I did the keto diet. And they'll go, oh.
I
Like,
get it.
you guys get over there?
Yeah, sometimes, but I've been recently quite surprised by some of the reactions I've gotten whenever I say that I'm carnivore keto. I always start out by saying, "Do you know about the keto diet?" And most times they do. And actually, I've been receiving a lot of curiosity more than criticism or skepticism. So I think more people are becoming very curious and um, like excited to at least learn about the keto diet. So it's actually less negative reactions I've noticed nowadays. But maybe it's because like the people that I'm talking to are already exposed to this way of eating. But in America, actually, it's quite popular. It's very quite popular, especially if you're involved on social media like Instagram. All these Instagram gurus do love promoting the keto diet, low carb diet. It's pretty mainstream here already.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that, like, it wouldn't, so many thousands of people have got along with it so well, and, like,
Mhm.
it's evident. Like, it kind of frustrates me when it gets shone down. Like, it does shone down a lot here in the US, like, as we are just kind of naturally behind.
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
frustrates me because, like, people like yourselves and, you know, me, Gia, and everyone, we've just reaped the health benefits, and people just don't understand it because they're not open enough to, like, listening to the actual benefits that it can bring, because they just think, oh, it's too hard, I can't cut out bread, or I can't cut out
Yeah.
you call it fries, don't you? I was going to say chips.
Oh
Chips,
yeah, we call it fries, French fries.
yeah. And they just go, oh, it's just too hard, I can't do it.
Yeah, and that's most people's reaction, but that's probably because they're not desperate enough or they don't really want to make a change in their life yet. But I do believe when people are curious enough and willing enough to change their life, it it will happen. They will be committed. So I was going to say something about, oh, yeah. Did you know that the keto diet was actually started for seizures, kids with seizures and epilepsy? So actually, the keto diet is something more medical. It wasn't something that celebrities did just to shed pounds and look thin. It's actually something that's really proven to be beneficial to the brain and mental function. So there really is great life-changing benefits to eating this way, just cutting out carbs.
Definitely.
yeah, but we've talked about that in regards to kind of like the moderate protein aspect, because you can definitely go more than moderate on a keto diet. Like, you don't have to just
Yes.
do like a small amount of protein.
Right.
And obviously we were talking about how that, you know, reflects in the people with epilepsy. They can't handle a lot of protein because it can raise glucose in excessive amounts. But obviously, like, regular people, you can kind of eat, like, especially, you know, you would know that you could eat as much meat as you kind of want.
Yeah, I do believe that. Carnivore diet is kind of more, protein, fat, whatever you choose in ratio, just whatever works for you as long as you're keeping it zero carb. It's also known as the zero carb diet. But there are some foods that are carnivore that may contain minimal amounts of carbs, but those really don't do much damage because it is still animal foods. And there's something really healing and digestible about animal foods.
Yeah, that's it. And the carbs the tiny amounts that you consume, they're so
Mhm.
minimal that it's not even worth like worrying over either and just
Exactly.
enjoying them.
Yes. For
Yeah,
example, raw cheese, raw dairy, raw milk, kefir, raw or not, there's going to be carbs in dairy products. And there may even be minimal carbs in eggs, but honestly, those minimal amounts of carbs don't do any damage whatsoever.
definitely.
Hmm.
That's when they're combined with the amount of protein and the amount of fat that, you know, when it's all kind of like together in a tiny, tiny amount of carbs, it's going to be completely different than you having like a bit of sugar or something else, you know?
Exactly. Yep.
It's naturally occurring as well. It's not as if you're eating like a loaf of sourdough bread or something.
Right.
It's so small.
Right.
So I know you said that you stick to kind of like beef, but do you kind of stray with shellfish or any kind of fish as well?
Yeah, the seafood that I absolutely adore is salmon, and I usually eat salmon raw just because it tastes so good. So every now and then, I'd say like twice a month, I will eat some raw fatty salmon. Salmon belly is absolutely amazing, but whatever salmon I can get, I try to make sure it's wild caught and fresh. I'll eat it raw as part of my meal. Besides beef, I also sometimes eat pork. Pork belly is one of my favorites, and a lot of eggs. So it's usually beef eggs, some pork, some salmon.
Wow. So I've just never even thought to try salmon raw. Like, is that like sorry to dig, but is that like safe to eat fish raw? Like,
You just get sushi grade,
oh
like
yeah,
if you
Yes,
want, but
oh yeah, Shan, come on.
yeah, but sashimi grade is basically it's been previously frozen or like flash frozen or something. I forgot the guidelines to be able to label a fish sashimi grade, but honestly, sometimes I would just run to Whole Foods and I would just get their wild caught salmon that's on display and I would just eat it raw. And if you're really afraid of the risks or whatever that may be in that raw fish, you can flash freeze it yourself. Just chuck it in your freezer for about 20-30 minutes, let it thaw, and just eat it. And I haven't had any issues so far. However, I must emphasize there's always risk in eating raw animal foods. However, it's just so good, you know?
I
Do
think
you find like
it's like a small parasite or something. That's the risk. But I think you can always see it
Yeah.
anyway. Like when you Google it, you're like, yeah, it's like a little thing about this big. Like I think you'd see it.
Yeah. Right. Whenever I show on my stories me eating raw liver or raw anything, I will always get messages saying, you gotta like notify everyone that there is risk. And I know that there is risk and I know that there are like stories and news of people getting really, really sick. So I think the most important thing if you want to eat anything raw is to make sure the quality is top notch and that it's wild caught fish. And for beef, beef liver, that it's grass fed, grass finished.
Yeah, we're just telling everyone not to hop onto Aldi and
oh yeah, don't,
No, no, no.
buy the
Yeah,
cheapest
don't do
they
that.
can.
Yeah.
oh my god, yeah, no, don't be going to Aldi and
Mm.
raw fish from Aldi. I wouldn't recommend. But that sounds really interesting. Like I've just never even thought to eat things raw before. Like it's never even crossed my mind.
Yeah, it's definitely a great way of enjoying meats. Chilled, very refreshing. Also, my boyfriend loves eating beef raw. I think they call it beef. There's a name for raw beef. What is it called? Well, it's just like thinly sliced beef seasoned with some olive oil, salt, and pepper, and that's like a dish right there. So there are people who absolutely love raw fish, raw beef. There's actually a whole community of people who eat raw carnivore. So it's a thing.
Wow, just like 100% raw carnivore.
Yes, raw carnivore, just oysters, raw seafood, salmon, raw beef, raw eggs, raw butter. It's just all raw. Yeah.
Oh my god, I can do that. I mean, I'm definitely gonna try some raw things. Like you have like inspired me to just give it a go and try it. But I don't
Yeah.
think I can imagine just eating just entirely raw. That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't really. I need that comfort from the warmth of cooked foods.
So does
Yeah.
your boyfriend eat carnivore with you?
So my boyfriend is kind of keto carnivore. I'm really helping him, hoping to veer him more in the direction of carnivore, but I'm honestly just happy already that he's cutting out a lot of the carbs. He's cutting out refined sugars. I think he already feels a difference in his energy and also his skin. So I'm already very happy and proud of him for being more conscious about processed foods, about sugars, and not eating as much of it because he's come a long way. He really ate just a standard junk filled American diet. So it's really amazing to see how much he's improved in his diet choices.
Yeah, we've mentioned, I feel like we always say this in pretty much nearly every podcast, but it's just incredible how keto can really help your mindset when it comes to diet. Like
Absolutely.
when you make that switch to keto, you just realize how much sugar and refined sugars especially is in absolutely everything.
Exactly.
Food, it's just, yeah, it's just everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think just the biggest step that anyone can do is to at least not eat the processed junk, the refined sugars, the plant seeds, oils, the super processed plant oils are very detrimental. So just cutting those things out and not even incorporating anything new is already going to affect how you feel and how you look.
Definitely.
Hmm.
And it's even like looking at things, even if it's marketed as keto, it's always checking the label, because I feel like even with those kind of things, sometimes they've still got a ton of soybean oil or canola or,
Yeah.
just really inflammatory kind of ingredients, even
Hmm.
if it is meant to be marketed as like a diet food.
Right. Yeah. Always check the ingredients. In fact, try to make your own snacks or meals. Home cooked is always best.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when you cook things yourself and you know what's gone in it, you kind of have that sense of like, yeah, I really know where my health and nutrition's at because you're not relying on somebody else to kind of fill your body for you.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I can tell that you guys love cooking and incorporating very healthy home cooked meals. So that's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I've actually been vegan in the past before as well. So it
Mhm.
was only very brief. Yeah, it was only very brief. But it's interesting, like going back to the beginning, you saying that it never really helps with like your skin and your eczema, because a lot of people make that switch to vegan and they find it helps, doesn't it? And it helps
Yes.
their skin because it did actually help mine. So I just found that really interesting how you made that switch to keto from
Hmm.
vegan, well, keto carnivore from vegan, and it just boosted up your skin. I just find that really interesting, incredible.
Mm, yeah. So I think for a lot of people, the initial great results and benefits of the vegan diet may be because of the omittance, the taking out of a lot of the processed junk and the foods that no longer fit in the vegan diet. I think for me, that's why I suddenly saw, weight loss and I felt better in energy. But I think for long term, you really have to be very, very well informed about the nutrients and the supplements that you must incorporate as a vegan, because sometimes it can be hard to make sure you get everything in with a plant-based diet. However, I have seen many people who have made it work. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with the vegan diet. It's just that it does require a lot of research and preparation.
Yeah, would you say that too, Gia? Like being vegan keto,
Mhm.
like essentially vegan keto. Like how do you find it? Like I've never really had like a really in-depth discussion with you about it.
I mean, so obviously, like when I first went to university, I was kind of just doing like the regular vegan diet. So I was having still a lot of potatoes, a lot of starch. I mean, Oreo's a vegan, like who's not gonna take that
Yeah.
up? Um, and so I was finding that I was kind of veering back into bad habits just because one, the availability of vegan substitutes was getting better, but it also means that it was getting unhealthier. Um, and also that there was so much misinformation online, especially
Mhm.
from people like Freely, Fully Raw, Christina, those
Ah,
people
right.
that aren't having the proper supplements for it. Like you cannot do a vegan diet and not have supplements. You know, like B12 is so important. So, you know, you have to take it. But moving away from the sugar and the starch, like I still got the benefits of a keto diet because, and I mean, I've still moved more away from one meal a day full of fibrous like vegetables, like, you know, a massive salad, because that doesn't work with my body, because I don't think that you should be eating that amount of food in one sitting, because obviously, you know, vegan food is lower calorie, so you kind of have to make that up to a higher level with more fat rather than just filling with loads and loads of fiber, because eventually your body's like, no, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so eye-opening to hear from you, Gia, as a vegan, keto vegan. I wish I did more supplements when I was vegan, because the only thing that I supplemented with was nutritional yeast for the B12. I definitely knew that that was very important to supplement, and I kind of like poured a lot of the nutritional yeast. But I feel like some other things I should have supplemented more. However, I felt like just a whole foods plant-based diet was enough. So, you know, I do think being like well informed and doing your research is so important before you dive into such a diet like the vegan diet. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that.
And obviously, like, the other thing with, you know, taking away the dairy as well, that sometimes it doesn't kind of work with people in general, so they might actually be lactose intolerant and they don't realise. And I think that's kind of like a massive issue in itself with a lot of the population, that you can have intolerances to food, and only by cutting them out properly will you realise what those are.
Yeah, exactly.
I do. Sorry, I'm gonna like steer slightly off topic. I want to circle back around, and I want to ask a question, Bella. So, I was literally like, just before we hopped on the podcast, I was like looking at your Instagram, and I was like, wow, it's like she just looks like so fun and just really out there, and I love that. So you say that you've like tasted a load of butters, and you can like taste the difference. Like, I personally, I wouldn't be able to taste like that much difference in butter. Like,
yeah.
Like, when you say you've tasted loads of differences in butter, like, do you literally like eat butter out of the block? Like,
Yeah, that's something that I'm kind of known for. Well, I am the steak and butter gal, but I do eat sticks of butter as if it was just a snack, you know. And maybe that's just because my body loves the fat so much, and I can tolerate digesting this much fat now. I've worked my tolerance up definitely, but I also truly love the taste of butter on its own. What I love to do is I like to freeze it, take it out of the freezer, and just eat it. I like that it's more hard rather than just melty. But with the taste of butter, I really can taste the differences between different brands, different farms, also between unpasteurized versus pasteurized. There is a huge difference. And maybe because my taste buds are just so sensitive now, because I only eat so much foods. But I prefer butters that are more grassy and creamy in flavor. There are some butters that just taste like nothing to me, and some butters that have a sour aftertaste. So I love taste testing different brands, and I love shouting these brands out. But I do think the best butter there is to eat is the raw butter from your local farms.
oh my goodness, I couldn't imagine just eating butter like just on its own.
I know. Yeah, it's quite different. But a lot of people have reached out saying, "My God, I tried your butter trick and it's amazing."
Maybe it's just the butter here in our UK supermarkets is just like rubbish. Like, as you say,
Maybe.
just need to get it local.
Yeah, you should just move over here to the United States.
I just need to take the trip first. I just need to get my butt out there and just experience it all.
I mean, I wish that we had the standard of like farmers markets that you guys have over there. I feel like it would just kind of make us actually think about the produce that we're buying as well.
You can support your local farms, and it's just very sustainable this way. But you guys, come visit me in New York City. I'm happy to meet with you guys.
Oh my God, I would love to do that, Bella. Like, I already said that I'm going to rearrange my trip to New York next year, so I will definitely I'm going to And yeah, that would be so interesting. I'd love to see you in Manhattan. That would be crazy.
Hey, me too.
Like an episode of Gossip Girl, but all obsessed. But no, hopefully if COVID kind of lets us travel, hopefully I'll be going in May. So it'd be great.
Ooh, awesome. Let me know it.
Yeah. Let's hope. I know we normally go in Thanksgiving because the parade, and it's just it's a bit of a different experience than obviously we get over here because we have such a long gap in between Halloween and then Christmas. But it's like you got to bridge that gap somewhere.
Yeah.
What's it like out there at the moment, Bella? Like with COVID, like how are you guys? Are you healing out there? Like, is it getting any better?
Yeah, I came back to New York City about a month ago, and upon coming back, I noticed that everything is pretty normal. Everything's running normally. The biggest change, I think, is all these restaurants are having outdoor patios, outdoor seating, which is actually really cute because everyone's, enjoying the outdoors, people watching, and you can just walk by and see what everyone's eating. It's just very homey and social. So I would say that's the biggest difference is that every restaurant has outdoor seating now. But, the local companies are opening up and the people in the city are just, living life normally, but with masks.
Yeah, that's good. It's just the whole world's had to adapt, hasn't it? Like we know and we go with it, don't we? But yeah, I'm glad that like things are getting better for you out there because I know that it was quite bad in New York, like especially like at the beginning, it was terrible, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's why I left because it just was that scary and that dangerous.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Did you just kind of stay in New York State, or did you have to travel quite far to get out?
Once my school announced that it is all virtual, I just decided like there's no point in me staying in the city. I want to go home. So I first went with my boyfriend to his mother's home in Seattle, and that was extremely nice. The place over there, lots of parks and nature. So at least we were able to go outdoors during that critical time. And then after about a month in Seattle, I went home to my family in Los Angeles. That's where I was raised. So.
Sorry. Sorry, you're gonna have to meet me out this bit. Sorry, just like my.
Okay.
Having a bit of a pop-up moment.
Yeah, but it's kind of like it's a mess over here. Like I must say, like just letting it out there. Like I do kind of feel like we haven't dealt with it well over here at all. Like we take one step forward and it's literally 10 steps back. It's horrendous. I feel like it's literally never going to end over here.
Wow. Yeah, I have heard about, the situation in London. I don't hear that many great things. So I'm sorry that you guys have to go through that.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually, like no doubt, like the whole world will. But I just feel like in the UK, like I want to live in America. Like I just want to emigrate. I want to live out there.
We want to live in the US after November 3rd when we find out.
Oh,
that's it. We'll see.
Yeah.
But no, something that I did want to ask you about, Bella, was about moving obviously from vegan to carnivore. Like, did you have an online presence when you were vegan? Because obviously the vegan
Right.
cancel culture can be a bit
oh, I know. Yeah. I have felt the hate and the scrutiny firsthand. Actually, it's funny that you bring that up. Last night, I don't know if you've heard of Goji Man, but he's a vegan, a big vegan on the YouTube platform, and he reviewed one of my what I eat in a day videos on his channel last night. And one of my followers sent me the link and said, "Hey, Goji Man just reviewed you." And I opened it up, and honestly, he was very respectful, very humorous, lighthearted. But man, the comment section was brutal. So I think, this, like, the whole picking sides, vegan versus carnivores, I just find it so unnecessary.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
Quite frankly. So
I respect everybody's diet decisions, life decisions. You are your own person. And I will not support or condone any hate on my channel, on my platforms. So having to even open up his video and read those comments were not great. So he was very nice to, not condone the hate. He like posted some comment. But the vegan hate is real. And I just wish these vegans can be more open-minded. I must say the carnivore community is much more loving, welcoming, and open-minded. I don't know if it's the food, but it's a thing.
Yeah, it's such a shame that like it has to go that way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I feel like although he was really respectful, that kind of like posting it on a vegan channel, it kind of like it's inevitable. You're going to get those comments, aren't you? So I just don't take any note of those comments. I mean, you seem very headstrong anyway, and you seem like very assured in what you do and why you do your diet. So just don't take any notice of it.
Thank you. Yeah. I really try to follow that advice, but it's true. Yeah.
I can get how it can be hard sometimes, but kind of like you have to block out that noise, don't you? And just like
absolutely
affirm that like you're doing this for you, nobody else. Like you don't owe anything to anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah. And obviously, like these YouTubers, I know that obviously he does reviews. I know Abby Sharp does similar kind of reviews as well.
Yes, right.
And obviously they are making AdSense off of those videos, so it is kind of, they want it to be controversial, as much as I hate to kind of put that out there, but that is their genre. It's not even like personal at this point. It is literally for entertainment and for AdSense revenue.
Right. There's this clickbait culture on YouTube. And I think YouTube is doing something about it by not tolerating clickbait and controversial issues. But I think these people who thrive on their channels off of reviewing and bashing other channels just won't go far in their YouTube career. But I also understand that these YouTubers have to make a living. So, everyone will do their own thing and post their own content. My content that I thrive to post, I hope that I come off as genuine and helpful and just transparent. I will never be bashing anybody else's diet or diet choices. So he can do his thing. And I'm honored to be on his channel.
That's such a lovely way to that's just such a lovely way to put it. And you definitely do come across as just so honest and just so true to yourself, on your YouTube and your Instagram. You give that radiant positivity, which is what we all need in the world, really.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
I'm glad.
But no, I think obviously as well, going back to kind of Abby Sharp with the sort of mindful eating, that she's got a set kind of mind in what her sort of perfect diet is. You've got yours, I've got mine, right. Shannon's got hers. And even though we might not all be doing the same kind of diet, doesn't mean that any of us are wrong. It's just that we're doing what's best for our bodies rather than going off what the government guidelines are.
Absolutely. Yes. I love that. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we were listening to the government, we'd all be eating, white bread and lots of starchy vegetables, but
mm-hmm. Just eat what makes you feel good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I would never recommend cutting out carbs as heavily if you are from a very, very kind of dark disordered eating place, because I think if you try and take all of those kind of out, I feel like sometimes it can just trigger you just to keep going back, and it's just another form of orthorexia at that point, which I did experience when I first started the diet by just cutting things out more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is eating safely and slowly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's an excellent point. The eating history, the eating disorders that you may be dealing with are a huge factor in whether or not a diet will work for you. So I'm just absolutely very admiring just that you are aware of this. Ladies especially suffer from this, having to be super restrictive and then binging and purging. It's just so important to have a healthy mindset around food. So whatever diet can help you achieve that, I feel like is worth trying.
Definitely, that's so true. So true.
And I think there's kind of like, with that topic, there's a misconception that by us, for instance, cutting out the carbs, we are being orthorexic, but it's not as simple as that. It's more that the carbs have no value in our lives and in our diet, so we don't include them. But for instance, like, we'll include other things. So we're not restricting to restrict. We're restricting because it's better for our body and for our mindset.
Absolutely.
Is that the kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so lovely to speak to someone so like-minded. It was so nice to have you on.
Thank you so much, Shannon and Gia. Such a fun time speaking with you guys. You guys are so awesome.
I've got to ask, what time is it there? Like, what time is it in the States?
It's 4 p.m. here in New York City. How about you guys?
It's 9 at night. So
wow,
I'm such an early night type of person. So I'll probably be having my hot chocolate in bed soon.
Nice. Love it.
But yeah, it was so lovely to have you on, Bella. Really, really insightful person.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to share this with, my followers on Instagram and YouTube. Hopefully you guys will gain more traction. I just love your message and what you advocate.
Oh, thank you. And
that really means a lot.
Yeah, it really does mean a lot to us, especially as a new podcast. And we're growing and we're learning and people love it. And I know that they'll love you and they'll love this episode. And it's been really great to record it with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, guys.
If you wanted to if you want to send any links that you want me to include in the description as well.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. No problem.
Perfect.
Your Instagram, your YouTube, anything you want us to say in the description, please let us know as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just known as Steak and Butter Gal across Instagram and YouTube. I have my music Instagram, Opus Bella, and that's it. Facebook, Steak and Butter Gal, Opus Bella.
Wow.